we go. Okay, so let's get going. So we are going to take you through just almost a whistle-stop tour of the school charter, and we're just going to drop in some snippets of information today. And there's a lot of information out there, so please ask questions. If you'd like any follow-up info as well, please do let us know, because this is us really squishing info into a short amount of time, but it's to give you just that overview to start with. So we're just going to recap that national curriculum expectations, which I'm sure you are all aware of and have it drilled into your head. We're going to just have a quick look at current national and local stats on school swimming. You'll notice within that data we're still playing a little bit of catch up because of COVID, but I think it gives a true reflection of the current stats we do have access to that were released earlier this year, and hopefully we will just build upon that over this next academic year as well. We're going to look at resources that will help you deliver your school swimming, or influence how your school swimming is delivered depending on your role within your school. And we're also going to just point you in the direction of further training opportunities and other resources that we have as well. Now, just before we start, can I just check if you're happy to in the chat box? Just pop in if you are a primary school or a secondary school, just because Grace mentioned who we've been working with, that some of you may be a secondary school. It's just handy for me to know for today who my audience is. If you're all primary, that's wonderful. Not that there's anything wrong with secondary, but fab. It looks like the majority of you are primary, which is really good. So I will not drift into anything that is secondary for the purpose of this presentation. So let's actually just start by looking at what the curriculum says, because we often find that only one of these outcomes are at the forefront, not all the time, and we're getting a lot better with it. But when we have these conversations around school swimming, if we look at number 2, that is the most common one that we have conversations around. In terms of what schools think they need their pupils to achieve. And often outcome 1 and 3 are forgotten about. So we're really trying to increase that viewpoint of all 3 outcomes, because they're all equal, but for some reason there's this historic kind of myth that it's just the 25 meters. Again, in the chat box, just pop in there if you come across it at your school where it's more spoken about the 25 meters rather than the perform safe self-rescue, and the use of range of strokes as well. Just again, it's not wrong, it's just us trying to get that feedback and direct people in the right direction. So I'm going to take you through these in a little bit more detail as well. So again, in the chat box, any questions about this or any kind of queries? So this is outcome 1 that we talk about. So we're looking at performing that safe self-rescue in different water-based situations. And you can see the 4 bullet points there. We're really looking at our pupils' knowledge and understanding of water safety key messages. We want them to know how and when to use appropriate survival and self-rescue skills. We also want them to have a knowledge and understanding of local and national water hazards. So that can change depending on what area of the country you're in to start with. And have knowledge of what to do if others get into trouble. Fab, I can just see the chat box flagging up, and that's so reassuring to see that some of you are saying all 3 are covered, and I'm not necessarily questioning that all 3 aren't covered. I think it's that the 2, the first and the third one, don't get as much exposure as number 2. Kelly said that the same focus on 25 meters is certainly what head teachers seem to ask about, but doesn't reflect all three that do then get taught. So yeah, that's probably a really good way of putting it, actually, Kelly. So just jump into that third outcome, using a range of strokes effectively. And sometimes this can actually be just not quite understanding what that may look like. But we're looking for pupils to make choices about the strokes they use to achieve different outcomes, experience both alternating and simultaneous strokes, and adapt the strokes for a range of purposes and intended outcomes. So what stroke might suit if they do get into trouble? Actually keeping their head up, for example, so that they can see to get to the edge of the pool, and using a breaststroke kick. That might be that adaptation there that they require for a different situation. And strokes don't have to be perfect. They have to be effective for the intended outcome. Again, we want our pupils to be safe in the water rather than a perfect swimmer. And then finally, like I said, the most popular one, the one that is drummed into historically, it's that continuous swim for 25 meters. And again, I think this is forgotten, or more. So if that swimmer can demonstrate more a further distance, that's what we want to encourage them to do. We want strokes to be as strong at the start and at the end. We don't want them struggling just to reach the end of that pool. And part of the swim should be completed in deep water, and strokes recognizable to an informed onlooker. So again, not perfect, but if you had somebody who was qualified to look over, they would know what stroke they are attempting. Okay, any questions on that? Grace, I can see you have joined us. Any questions there, Grace?
Yes, can I just add a little bit on the on those three national curriculum requirements? Obviously, as part of schools, we're looking at different ways that you can maybe help enhance these elements. And as we know, pool time is very limited and precious. So we're kind of looking at ways, I suppose, that you can maybe add dry side elements to some of these outcomes, especially around the water safety aspect. And we will go on later in this presentation to discuss the School Swimming Charter and partnerships that have seen us create these resources that are ready and available for you. But it's just looking at things like water safety. Can you do pre-swimming activities to try and make sure that children are aware of these things before even maybe getting in the water? Also looking at pre-assessment potentially before you go to the pool to try and get an idea of, are children already swimming? Do they do swimming lessons outside of school swimming? So you have a little bit of an idea before going to the centre, and just to try and make sure that you're maximising that time in the water. Same with the strokes. It could be that you could add a dry side element to PE lessons, whereby as part of a warm-up, it's can you do front crawl arms, can you show me backstroke arms, can you show me breaststroke arms, you know, so that you're getting that movement of an alternating simultaneous action. So there's elements whereby we're hoping that obviously schools can maximise all the support and resources available to you to look at trying to enhance the provision towards these outcomes. Thanks, Lauren.
Oh no, you're more than welcome. Thank you, Grace, for adding that on. So just moving beyond the three outcomes, this is our current data that we have. And as I said in the intro, we are still looking at that data over this next academic year. And these are just some snippets of stats that were released earlier this year. And really, we're looking at that 1.88 million across all year groups who would have missed out on swimming participation. We've got 240,000 fewer children that will be able to swim 25 meters by the end of this academic year. And then we've obviously got some future impact stats as well. So this is really interesting that this shows the current state of our school swimming. And interestingly, again, like we said about those 3 outcomes, there's that real emphasis on that 25 meters. And we really want to broaden that so that water safety is just as a higher priority in there as the other 2 outcomes as well. Again, just in the chat box, just trying to make this as interactive as possible today. Just pop in if you've seen any of these stats before. I don't think any of you will be shocked by them because it was crazy, and you guys were, you know, in the schools, seeing obviously in, out of schools, bubbles, you know, being sent home, pools opening, pools shutting this last year. But just any thoughts in the chat box on these statistics. I'm going to move on to some more localized statistics, and please bearing in mind that this is just based on that 2020-2021 academic year at the moment. So what we've actually got on the next slide is just an example, not an example, just a snapshot of data actually as far back as 2017 for your local area. And I think this is really important, and this will be the data that is really interesting when we have it for this academic year and obviously following academic years, and how that would match up with the current state of school swimming on the previous slide. We are looking at an increase for your area in both of those outcomes there, which is really good, really positive. We just don't know what that statistic now looks like localized with the impact of COVID. But I think it's really important to see that there's been that slight growth over the last 3 to 4 years, really. Again, just feel free in the chat box to pop anything in there, but just wanted to bring this data to you guys today, just to be aware of it more than anything. Grace, did you have anything to add to this localized statistics?
I think it's just maybe that we need to obviously be conscious that not everyone is completing and uploading their attainment rates. So, you know, that the higher that percentage increases of those completing will only help create an even more accurate picture. Also, obviously, we're doing work around trying to make sure that the assessment standards are understood, are fully understood, and that everyone is reporting based on a standardized approach to the outcomes. So, you know, it's making sure that we're all on the same page, shall we say, in terms of completing that attainment rates. But I know that obviously the active partnerships are working as well to try and make sure that those attainment rates are uploaded as part of that role and responsibility of the schools. Also, obviously, operators with role and responsibility in terms of completing that initial assessment, that ongoing assessment, and providing you the results at the end for you to then upload as them attainment figures.
Thanks, Grace. Nothing coming into the chat box. So I'm going to keep going. And like I said at the start of today's presentation, it's just a whistle-stop tour. So again, any further questions, or if there's anything that does catch your eye, or if you're already using the School Swimming and Water Safety Charter but have further questions or further requirements for support, please do let us know. But for
Lauren, can I just check if Claire had anything that you wanted to add, Claire, from a local perspective?
Oh yeah, good shout. Sorry, Claire.
No, not really. I think the overview that you've given is an accurate picture from what we've spoken to schools. So no, that's fine.
Okay. Fab, thanks, Claire. Again, Claire, just jump in at any point. We do not mind. So again, sorry if I am teaching any of you guys to suck eggs if you've come across our School Swimming and Water Safety Charter before, but I'll just assume that you haven't, and I'll run you through it. And this is our real driver to partnership between primary schools, lesson providers, and ourselves. This charter is designed to support school swimming by developing and improving teaching and the assessments, like Grace said. some of those statistics might be slightly skewed because we're not getting accurate data reported in. We offer a structured teaching program that meets those 3 government criteria set as outcomes for Key Stage 2 through our charter. So it's very easy to follow. I hate to say that word because school swimming is not easy. I'm talking from experience, but we try and create these resources and these awards to make it as easy as possible. Again, if you haven't seen what's involved within our charter, we actually have 2 options of awards, and that's included however you sign up, but we can talk about that on a future call if more info is needed. But essentially we have our core charter awards that have been around for 3 years now, I think. So they were revised and relaunched 3 years ago, and our foundation awards were actually ready and launched last year. Of course, they weren't really talked about because we spent the whole year talking about COVID and getting pools reopened. But we do have those foundation awards now that just give more opportunity for your swimmers to have those smallest stepping stones towards those 3 national curriculum outcomes. Typically, we're looking at schools that may have children with SEND, but ultimately they are there for any child that is struggling to progress through their school swimming lessons. They're a fantastic tool and I could talk about them all day long, but there's info on the slide there, and ultimately it gives you as much flexibility to reward and recognise the achievements that all of your pupils are making through school swimming and working towards those 3 outcomes. Okay, let me move on because I will talk about them all day, and I know you guys are probably at the end of your day now. So again, when you sign up, you get access to those awards, which are fantastic. You would also get, you can see on screen, a number of printed physical resources to use for your school swimming. And you'd also get digital access to an online portal where you effectively download as many certificates as you need and give them out as and when, rather than having to place an order. So again, we've tried to make the process as easy as possible. If you haven't come across it before, you get that access to those certificates, to lesson plans, schemes of work, videos. If you've got new teaching staff coming in and they don't quite know what those outcomes might look like, we've got cross-curricular activities, we've got communication templates, and we're always looking at ways of improving and adding to that online portal as well. So it's really driven by the schools and what the schools need, as well as, of course, the physical resources you can see on the screen there. Does anybody already have the charter pack? Has anybody already signed up to it?
Can you just confirm, Lauren, how much that costs? It's helpful for schools, I think, to understand what the cost of it is.
Yeah, of course. So the cost actually is £30, excluding VAT, but I believe schools are exempt from VAT. Yes, Claire's nodding at me. I'm always uncertain of that one. However, the only reason there's a cost to it is for those physical resources. So as you come to renew each year, it gives you that access to that online portal. However, it's those physical resources you are paying for, and it literally covers the cost for them, and that's including a passport. So you can see on the screen there where each child then gets that journey that they can follow and collect their stickers. You've got pin badges for your higher achievers there as well. So we're making sure that we're really hitting every kind of element of the ability spectrum there. We often recognise that our higher achievers often get missed out on school swimming if they are overachieving on those 3 outcomes. And you, of course, can then opt to basically top up those resources if you have a bigger cohort coming along to your swimming. So yeah, that's the cost. It's an annual payment, but of course, we're looking at that online portal really being your main access point year in, year out. Does that help, Claire?
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Thank you, Lauren.
Oh, no worries. So just to wrap up, guys, because I am very aware that it is 1 minute to 5. Of course, you will get all these links as well. And I would just encourage you to have a good look through, watch this webinar back, ask any questions that you need to. We are here to support all schools, whether we work through Claire, of course, or whether it needs to come direct to us. Either way. But we do have within our own website, we have the Inclusion Hub, which has a whole host of information there on ensuring that everybody is included within school swimming and swimming in general. We have seasonal activities linked in there as well as a resource link. We have challenges and events, which this last year, the campaigns haven't been able to run, but the following years they will be looking to relaunch. So that's a really interesting one to get your schools involved, such as Drowning Prevention Week with the RLSS. We also have School Swimathon. So there's some really good campaigns and events there to have a look and maybe plan for 2022. Yeah, 2022 academic year. That sounds a bit mad. We also have some great partnerships. So we have Oak Academy. Now, these water safety lessons were created through COVID, and they're actually theory-based, but they're a really good resource to kind of hit that outcome or around safe self-rescue. So even though we need the children to have an element of in-water experience of safe self-rescue, this gives you that head start of them having that awareness of water safety. Again, any more questions there, we can get some more info over to Claire to distribute. We've got SwimPicks who we work with as well. They are fantastic. They create these amazing resources. We work really closely with them, and they have one specific to the school charter. So again, I could talk about them all day, but I will let you go and have a little look through online. And again, we work with the Royal Lifesaving Society, and they put together water safety classroom activities. So again, hitting that other element of those outcomes, you can just go and register via this link and receive a download of resources that you can then use with your pupils. Okay, just final whistle stop again, just further training. I won't talk you through these, but these are free learning opportunities. So we have our YouTube channel, we have our webinars, and we have our iOS e-learning as well. Some of the e-learning is free, some of it is paid for, but the main one I would definitely put on your radar is the free school swimming water safety overview. So again, we'll make sure you get that link, and that is probably the biggest e-learning freebie I'd send schools to. And of course, more training opportunities for your school. We do have support teacher of school swimming and teacher of school swimming qualifications. Again, probably a conversation for another day, Claire, to kind of dive into this a little bit more, but specifically about how you can improve your ratios of school swimming, how you can improve your provision within your school, and how you can get kind of your internal staff trained up if you are always going to a lesson provider as such. And just a note on current dates, Grace, I don't know if you wanted to talk around this a little bit more, that there are already training courses for the teacher of school swimming up and ready to go kind of the end of this year and the start and the first half of next year. So there are courses that are out there. It might just be that you need a little bit more info before you make that decision, or if it's right for you or not, for example.
Yeah, me and Claire discussed a little bit around the course plan. So we looked at the teacher of school swimming as a blended option. So it incorporates around 6 hours of e-learning for the support teacher of school swimming, and then a 1-day face-to-face, which then will cover the practical. It's got a theory and practical elements within it. So you'll go on poolside and practice the technical skills. And really those courses were just created to try and enhance teachers and school staff supporting school swimming's knowledge and technical, the technical knowledge, really, to give them the confidence to get involved in school swimming. So whether that's that you're delivering it independently, or whether you are delivering and helping a wider school swimming teacher that's provided by an operator. As we know, school swimming time is always very limited, so the more hands-on that we can get, the more direct time that each learner gets across school swimming can only enhance it further. So the course plan so far, we're trying to get a spread across the counties, but the first one's planned in for the 19th of November, and then we've got some further dates in Feb and April to come. Obviously, depending on demand, we can put more on as and when needed as well. And in terms of kind of the other sort of action plan for with working with Energize, is looking at any further webinars that would help schools. So whether it be a future how to maximise the use of the school swimming charter, or whether it's having a look at how to maximise your school swimming time most efficiently. Obviously, we can help depending on what the local challenges are that you're finding. So, you know, please feed back to myself and Claire, and any feedback obviously on the back of this webinar is just really a quick one to see how, you know, how are you back to school swimming and how you're finding it. But we're very open to how we can help support you moving forwards as well.
I think what might be helpful, Grace, is obviously I know I've had a lot of inquiries from schools about the teacher of school swimming courses. So just to clarify, obviously we're just starting to sort those dates. Grace has been working really hard to organise those on our behalf. We will be promoting the link in terms of how to book that course. It'll be directly through Grace at Swim England, who's kindly organised it on our behalf, but we will obviously share that information with you once we've got the booking link for you, and that will go out to schools. So if you are aware of somebody, whether that's you or a colleague in your school, we can share that with you. And I think I'm right, Grace, is it up to about 12 people can be accommodated on the course?
Yeah, up to 12.
Yeah, so we will be sharing that information with you, hopefully ahead of half term, do we think, Grace?
Yep, just waiting for final confirmation on the dates. So just we've tried to do obviously a spread over the next few months, depending on when you start your school swimming and so on. But if we need more, we can always add to the plan.
Yeah.
But also really open to hearing your thoughts and feedback around where else we can help with enhancing that provision, whether it be challenges with leisure operators, whether it be you know, you require further help and support.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, you can either feed that directly to Grace or the team or through myself, and we can link up and make sure we share those thoughts. So I don't know whether anybody's got any questions. I know it's gone just past 5 o'clock, so I'm sure you're all desperate to shoot off. Does anybody have any questions just before we wrap up?
I tried to go through it so quick then. I'm so sorry if anybody does have any more questions. Or Claire, what I'll say as well is, of course, our school swimming email address is on the screen now. But if anybody specifically might want a phone call, for example, Claire, if there's one element that they do want further information on, where I've kind of just ran through that snapshot today, more than happy to book that in. And obviously, as Grace said, we're here to support you. It's not just a blanket, you should be doing our charter and sign up and off you go. It's what works for your school, what works with the leisure operator, what support you need, what barriers are you coming up against. And yeah, if anybody does need some specific support, do reach out to us. We are more than happy to book in a phone call, or like Grace said, do another session like this with a focus, like a specific focus, if that's training, or if that is the charter itself, and maximizing it. More than happy to organise that with yourself and Grace, as she mentioned.
Right. I think what would be lovely, Lauren, is if you could share the slides, then what I will do is I will distribute those to everybody that signed up for the course today, so you've got the direct links and the contact information. But otherwise, I'm going to let you guys